Well, and I also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today we'll be doing our grade 7 English lesson on planning and organizing writing. And before we start, we're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca. Once we've logged on with our username as well as our password, and then we're going to select the subject of language arts, grade 7. And then we're going to scroll down up until we get to the chapter of planning and organizing writing. So there is going to be a few lessons that we're going to be doing under this chapter, but over a period of maybe like 2 days or so. All right, so our chapter is planning and organizing writing. The subject is English language arts, grade 7. And the lessons that we will be focusing on under the chapter of planning and organizing writing is to determine the main idea, identify the text structures, and to order topics from broadest to narrowest. So when it comes to planning and organizing writing, we always have like a main idea in, let's say, in most of our writings or topics, right? And the main idea is the most important idea or a claim that a text communicates, right? And the details in a text, it supports, it proves, or it illustrates the main idea. So a main idea is the very most, or it's the most important idea or claim that a text communicates. So within a text, you will always have a main idea, right? And it basically tells us what the topic or text is really about. And the details within the text, it supports, it proves, or it illustrates the main idea. All right. So we are doing our tutorial lesson on aplusstudents.ca. So when it comes to a main idea, right, within a passage, then the main idea of the passage, right? So you'll have like different topics, like texts, and within each of the texts, there's always a main idea. And we said the main idea is the most important idea or claim that the text communicates. So we are going to be, during the course of this lesson, we're going to be looking at certain texts or certain topics or certain conversations or communications. And then from there, we will be able to select the main idea, right? But for now, what's important is that the main idea is the most important idea or claim that a text communicates. And the details in the text it needs to support, it proves or it illustrates the main idea. All right, so now we're going to aplusstudents.ca, right? So like I said, there's going to be a few lessons that we're going to be doing under the title of planning and organizing writing. But for today, we're just going to focus on a few, which is to determine the main idea, identify text structures, and then maybe order topics from the broadest to the narrowest. And we say that the main idea is the most important idea or claim that a text communicates. And the main idea within the text, it supports, proves, or illustrates, or the details in a text, it supports, proves, or illustrates the main idea. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to read a few of the passages or texts, right? And then from there, we are going to determine what the main idea is within those texts. Because we've specifically said that the main idea is the most important idea or it is the most important claim that a text communicates. So we're going to read the passage, and then from there, we're going to select the main idea. All right, so if we look at the first text or passage that says, "What's beneath your plane?" It says, as Shane Loeffler, a geology student at the University of Minnesota, was flying home from Europe, he looked down at the landscape and began to wonder what he was flying over. So, as Shane Loeffler, a geology student at the University of Minnesota, was flying home from Europe, he looked down at the landscape and began to wonder what he was flying over. He realized that a plane flight would be a good opportunity for people to learn about the geological features. So, to learn about the geological features of the Earth below them. As a result of this experience, with a grant from the National Science Foundation, he created a free app called Fly Over Country. All right. So, the app provides users with information on natural formations, man made features like dams, and even where fossils can be found. The features are pinpointed on a map that corresponds to the landscapes below the plane. All right. So we're going to now select our main idea within that sentence, right? And our topic or heading of this text is what's beneath your plane. So we said that what is beneath your plane. And so far, based on what the text says, it seems like Shane Loeffler, he's a geologist student, right, at the University of Minnesota. And he was basically he was talking about his experience on the plane, and that is something that led him to create an app that would provide information to flyers about the land below them. So he was actually being so curious as to what are they flying over, right? All right. So which means that the main idea within this passage is that Shane Loeffler's experience in a plane led him to create an app that would provide information to flyers about the land below them, especially since he's a geologist student, right? So we see that when it comes to the main idea within the sentence of what's beneath your plane, then the main idea of a passage is a shown Loeffler's experience in a plane, leading to create an app that would provide information to flyers about the land below them. All right. So we see that what's beneath your plane, and then here we have a text, right? And that's this text it basically, if you break down the text, right, then it is about Shane who was traveling from Europe, right, with the Gautrain, sorry, with the aeroplane. And then he was wondering, as a geologist student, he was wondering what it looks like down there, right? So he wanted to know what it looks like at the landscape. And then he began to wonder what he was flying over. So then eventually, eventually later on, he then opened up an app, right? He created a free app which called Fly Over. And this flat then provides information on natural informations, man-made features like dams, and even where fossils can be found. All right. And we see that the main idea is the most important idea or claim, right, that text communicates. And the details within the text it needs to support, prove, and illustrate the main idea. All right. So when it comes to our main idea, right? So we are still on the topic of what's beneath your plane, that specific text, as Shane Loeffler has then opened an app, a free app that's called the Flyover Country. All right, let us go to our next text. It says, finding bombs in Germany. During World War II, so, finding bombs in Germany during World War II, American and British forces dropped millions of tons of bombs on German cities. Germany surrendered in 1945, but nearly 10% of the bombs had never exploded. So, where are we now? Let's start again. So basically, finding bombs in Germany. During World War II, American and British forces dropped millions of tons of bombs on German cities. Germany surrendered in 1945, but nearly 10% of the bombs had never exploded. 70 years later, more than 2,000 tons of unexpected bombs are found in. So if we look at the main idea, right? Firstly, we said the main idea is It is important, right, within a sentence to basically identify what the sentence will be about. And the main idea of the passage within this one is because there are so many unexploded bombs in Germany, the country has a special force trained to defuse them. So basically, if we were to identify the main idea, then the main idea of this passage is because there are so many unexpected unexploded bombs in Germany. The country has a special force trained to defuse them. So we said the main idea is the most important idea or claim that a text communicates. And the details within a text, it needs to support, it needs to prove, and it needs to illustrate the main idea. And if we try to look at the main idea on the topic finding bombs in Germany, right? Right? So also when it comes to let's say a main idea as well as all the other supporting ideas within a specific text, right? Then we see that the main idea is the most important idea within, or the idea or claim within that text, right? And it basically shows us what the text communicates. So we see that with the main idea, right, it is important ideas or claim that the text communicates. And if we're looking still at the topic of finding bombs in Germany, right? So when it comes to the textual, right, we see that the main idea within the text is that so many unexploded bombs in Germany, the country has special force trains to defuse them. So that is the main idea within that text, right? And if we now look at the phrase though, and we notice the the word, let's say, for this reason, then it suggests that the main idea involves a cause and its effect, right? Meaning that they're telling us the cause of why the bombs are there, as well as the effects that it has, right? Right? So if we also look at, okay, let's go to our test before we continue to go on to the next text. So we're now going to read a passage, right? And then we are going to select the main idea within this passage, right? And we see that the main idea is the most important claim within that text or in a passage. So to stand or not to stand. So in 2016, Felicito Elementary School in San Rafael, California became the first US school to replace all of its ordinary desks with the raised desk that students stand at. Speaking to a reporter from Time for Kids magazine, one student at the school gave the standing desk high praise. You feel happier, you are less tired, and you are more active, she said. According to several studies, children working at standing desks, they burn more calories and are more focused on tasks. However, some teachers and parents are opposed to the change. They are concerned that standing for long periods of time could cause fatigue, strain on the legs and feet, or posture problems. In addition, standing desks are more expensive than seated desks. Only time will tell whether standing desks will prove the very to be the next big trend or a failed experiment. So we need to select the main idea within the text that says to stand or not to stand, right? So if we look at the main idea within the passage, is it number one? Some people say that standing desks promote good study habits, but others are wary about the new desks. Or the second one, studies have shown that standing desks help students focus on their schoolwork while being more active. And if you need to choose our main idea, right, then some people say that standing desks promote good study habits, but others are worried about the new desks. And studies have shown that standing desks help students focus on their schoolwork while being more active. All right, so if we look at our main idea, right, within the text, then we will say that some people, let's go with studies have shown that standing desks help students focus on the schoolwork while being more active. All right, so now publishing Dr. Zivago. It is Boris Pasternak's 1956 novel, Dr. Zhivago tells the story of a Russian doctor living at the time of the 1917 Russian Revolution, which led to the establishment of the Soviet Union. Because the book dealt with hardship people faced after the revolution, publishers in the Soviet Union refused to release it, calling it anti Soviet. Pasternak's solution was to have the book smuggled out of the Soviet Union and published in Europe. Though Soviet authorities tried to prevent it, the book was published in Italy in 1957 and was immediately well received. In 1958, it was translated into English and went on to become one of the most popular novels in 1950. We need to select the main idea within this passage. Is it Dr. Zhivago showed the problem that the Russians faced following the Russian Revolution, so it was considered anti Soviet? Or Boris Pasternak couldn't get his book Dr. Zhivago published in the Soviet Union, so he had to book smuggle out of the country. Right. So that is our main idea because he couldn't get his books out of the Soviet Union, so he had to kind of smuggle his way out of the Union or out of the country and basically sell his book in a different country. The importance of Japan's cherry blossoms. It says in the northeastern United States, autumn is particularly colorful. So we are now going to read the text that says the importance of Japan's cherry blossoms. In the northern eastern United States, autumn is particularly colorful. Leaves change from green to red and orange, and many Americans take scenic fall frolic trips. In Japan, a similar phenomenon takes place in the spring. Cherry trees erupt in a shower of pink. So, if we look at our main idea within the text about the importance of Japan's cherry blossoms, right? Then it says Americans appreciate the colorful leaves of falls, but the Japanese view the cherry blossoms of spring as part of their culture. Or Japan's spring cherry blossoms often serve as a symbol of change or new beginnings in works of Japanese art or literature. So we now need to say which one is the main idea. Is it the Americans appreciate the colorful leaves of fall, but Japanese view the cherry blossoms of spring as part of their culture? Or Japan's spring cherry blossoms often serves as a symbol of change or new beginnings in works of the Japanese arts or literature? All right. And if we look at our main idea, sorry, we can say that Americans, they appreciate the colorful leaves of falls, oopsie, but the Japanese view the cherry blossoms of spring as part of the culture, right? Because they see it as the greatest significance. All right, because remember they said that the Americans are just going there to take pictures. So now we're going to identify text structures. So when it comes to writing and organizing, right? Because that is still the main chapter, writing and organizing. Um, which organizational structures does this topic primarily use? So when it comes to writing and organizing, there are different text structures that we need to follow, right? We have a cause and effect structure, compare and contrast structure. We have a problem solution and a sequel sequential structure, right? So authors use different structures to organize their the ideas in writing, and learning to identify these structures will help you to understand the relationship between ideas in information text, right? And we can also use these structures to organize our own writing, right? For example, the first one is a cause and effect structure. And a cause and effect structure, it presents the cause and the effect of a particular event, a trend, or a situation, right? And the structure often uses words and phrases such as because, since, as a result, due to, or consequently. That is cause and effect structures, right? And they present the cause and effect of a particular event, trend, or even a situation. Then we have a compare contrast. And a compare contrast structure, it presents similarities, comparisons, right? So similarities or comparisons basically, as well as differences, right? And the differences are the contrasts between two or more things. And this structure often uses words and phrases such as like, similarly, or in the same way. And that is specifically for comparing. Or you can even use words like on the other hand, in contrast, or you can say unlike for contrasting, right? So when it comes to compare and contrast, we say that the structure presents similarities. And with similarities is a lot of comparisons as well as differences, right? It is contrasting between two or more things, right? And then also when it comes to comparing and contrasting of structures, then the structure it uses or it often uses words or phrases such as similarly, in the same way, that is now for comparing, in other hand, in contrast, or unlike, and that is specifically for contrasting. Then we have a problem solution, right? And a problem solution structure, it presents a problem and it also suggests one or more possible solution. So usually when there's a problem within the text, then there's always also a possible solution. And this structure it often uses words such as issue, question, puzzle, propose, and answer. right? And then we have a sequential structure, and it describes a series of events that happens in a certain order. Sequential structure, series of events that happens in a certain order. And they often use specific dates and time and words such as first, next, during, finally, and while. Right? So that is basically when we are organizing structures, right? And when we have a text structure, then we have different text structures, and it is basically text structures that authors use, but it's also structures that we can use to organize our own writing. And that is a cause and effect structure, compare and contrast structure, problem solving structure, as well as a sequential structure. All right, so that is now the end of our lesson on planning and organizing writing. In our next lesson, we will definitely continue with identifying and going deeper into identifying text structures, as well as the rest of the lesson on planning and organizing writings. Right. I thank you very much for joining the class, grade 7. Till next time. Goodbye.